text.
And,
he
yeah.
was his comrade in arms, which
Mhm.
is also a brother or a cousin.
Yeah, and then, but like the way that Achilles writes about it is that was his, basically translated like life partner, and it said like, you know, like quote unquote cross the boundaries of a comrade. And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
it's just like, it's so funny. if you
That's
look at it.
interesting.
I
Yeah.
really like,
Heard that part.
really like that little piece of Greek mythology.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Well, it's also fun because Patroclus
Mhm.
means the country's honor.
If you like
And
the fiction part of it, like the Song of Achilles is a really good book. It's not like, I guess like it's not like true to its word on actual Greek mythology. It's more like a fiction based, but it's actually a really good book. And Circe is its sequel, and it talks about basically Achilles' mother, and it's really cool. It's a really good book.
she's the one that dipped him into the river Styx by his heel, which was why the Achilles heel was his weak point. There you go. Funny he had an Achilles heel.
Actually, a really cool thing in Greek mythology.
Yeah, but Patroclus tries to get him into the fight by telling the story of Cleopatra, which is Patroclus in reverse, and that's just it's
The wordplay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you just read the Iliad, it's just like, if you compare and contrast like the Iliad and then the Song of Achilles, and then like you watch like the movie Troy or something, and you just compare like how they describe Patroclus, it's like
You have
You
to
know.
let a lot go. With
yeah, it's just like it's fun. It's fun to look at all the different ways. You'll never know which one he is.
but from the armor you could tell that Achilles is much larger because he's clunking around in this huge suit, and he's clearly not a danger to the Trojans. So in any case, the point I'm trying to make is when we're looking at that Conan the Barbarian, the movie or whatever, the conception of the good. If you saw the movie, you know they're sitting around the fire at one point, and they say, "What is good?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you know they try different answers, but the one that's almost like Plato in reverse, really, because at one point Conan says, "Kill your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of the women," and they all agree, "Yes, that is good." And you think, whoa, how did they go from that to Plato, where you start getting virtues that are somewhat more like the virtues we think of? Well, that's a good question. Do we still think of those kinds of virtues as virtues? So that's why I'm pulling up what I think represents that kind of ethical theory or morality. Moralität is a German word, but the argument that Nietzsche gives us, and let me go right to the text. So I'm looking at the question, it starts at part 2. What is good? I almost feel like saying that in the same way that the movie asks the question, what is good? Whatever augments the feeling of power, the will to power, power itself in man. What is evil? Whatever springs from weakness. What is happiness? The feeling that power increases, that resistance is overcome. Not contentment, but more power. Not peace at any price, but war. Not virtue, but efficiency. Virtue in the Renaissance sense, virtue free of moral acid. Free of moral acid. Acid, what we think of as morality is an acid in this case. the weak and the botched shall perish. First principle of our charity, and one should help them to it, help them to it, help them perish. What is more harmful than any vice? Practical sympathy for the botched and the weak. Christianity. So notice what has influenced Nietzsche is Charles Darwin, the theory of evolution. Now, he does have some disagreements with Charles Darwin, but there are other variants of evolution. Lamarckian evolution, which is a precursor, actually, to Darwin. What's the main difference? The main difference is for Darwin, which has been completely sublated today, but nonetheless, the original exposition of it gives you the idea that it's just chance, random chance, that gives the different possible kinds of creatures, and then those creatures that survive are the ones that are the ones that continue to thrive. Now, it was Herbert Spencer that actually coined the expression, the survival of the fittest.
My daughter is sick. I need to go take her home from school.
Alrighty, I hope she's okay.
Yeah, she's got a really high fever.
Ooh,
I think something's going around. There's
Yeah,
a lot of
there has
people, especially in very close quarters. It's very contagious because everybody on my floor right now. I was walking home last night and everybody's getting home at the same time, and they're all went to the commons. They have bags of medicine and soup, and they all look like absolute shit. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, look, stay away. Yeah,
maybe they were all at the
elementary one.
the games or something, and
Yeah, well, if you would have
everybody
saw
got
what
sick.
happened at the volleyball game, they, for a week straight, they were basically putting it all over social media, come pack the house, basically. And they're throwing this event, a pregame event, and everyone assumed that it was for the students, it's a pregame event, it's free stuff, grab some food, hang out before the game, show your support. So I end up going, me and my boyfriend go, and we get there at 6:15. First of all, it's a big old line, they ran out of tickets, big old line, and then
Sorry,
you get
sorry.
in, and
Okay.
it's they trapped
hope she's
you.
okay.
They trapped
Be
us
safe.
in the auditorium, and they wouldn't let anybody go inside because it was so late. They had games running so late that they were behind. So basically they told everybody stay in this little room, and it's just hundreds of people. And they actually had an event where they're guess how many people are here, and if you get it right, you get to win a free trip. And it was 4,188 people trapped in one auditorium, and it was you have to stand there like this and just wait 45 minutes. It was just everyone's coughing and sneezing. It was gross.
I haven't caught COVID yet,
I haven't either.
so
I really thought when I first moved here, I thought that I got it, but I was no. I think it was more my sinuses getting used to the cold weather. But I've never had COVID. But my mom's had it 3 times. I'm how?
well, she's living in Texas, your mom.
Um,
So anyway, let me try to frame this difficulty, because the quiz question I have posed for you, is kind of, well, let me go back to it. So the quiz question is, how would you mediate between combating countries fighting over territory? So, I'm trying to set that up as an example. Actually, we have, of course, a couple of situations currently. China feels that Taiwan ought to be subservient to the main Communist Party on the mainland. We, of course, got Ukraine and Russia fighting over territory.
They fought. I think they launched their first missile either today or yesterday.
Yeah, I read about that. And of course, then there's the Gaza, West Bank, and now Lebanon fighting that Israel is engaged in. And there's, lots of other. Very rarely do we talk about Sudan, but there's a big fight between at least two sides, if not more, in Sudan. And there's actually more people killed and displaced in Sudan than in either, I think, Ukraine or Gaza, and nobody really covers it. And that's an interesting problem. Why is Sudan not as important as the others? And more people are in danger and in famine, etc. So the question I have, I'm just ahead of time. Of course, I can't imagine anyone actually solving it. As many people has been involved in negotiations and things have not solved it. But of course, wrestling with the question is a valuable experience, I think, just because of how difficult it is as a question. Let me check and see how folks are doing. You guys are still hearing me, I suppose? And if you have a chance, you can look at the text. Okay. Well, so I'll reiterate the question again. This is the quiz question for today, and this is on Blackboard already. And I'm calling today's lecture 24, even though this says lecture 25. I'm confusing myself, actually.
Yeah.
How would you mediate between combating countries fighting over territory? It doesn't give you any power. It's not like you can come in and just blow up the one side and say, here, you have it, or anything of that sort. And I use Nietzsche as an example of power as the ethical theory. And I do have a contrasting ethical theory, and that's going to come from Aquinas. You can pick whoever you like, really. There's quite a few people that use love, really, as the response. What's the most important value in life, instead of power, which is, in a sense, the evolutionary theory? Who's the species that survives? Well, the species that beats up the other species, right? Who's the individual that survives? The individual that beats up the other individuals. So power from a beginning understanding of Darwinian evolution is essentially the thesis that Nietzsche picks. But when we are looking at the Christian narrative, and this is from the scholastic period, this is the more complex way of interpreting the Christian dogma, which, by the way, is officially still the church dogma, the Roman Catholic Church dogma today, even though it's hundreds of years old. But the main thesis is that you have to have faith and reason, and you have to put them together. If faith presupposes something that reason says is stupid, well, you have to change that. You can't accept faith if the faith isn't compatible with reason. Which, by the way, just my quick take on that is that was one of the main reasons the Protestant Reformation occurred, was because they didn't like that argument, because there were a lot of things that they believed that were in contrast to what they were beginning to see as reason back in the Renaissance. In any case, so to be loved is more proper to charity. This is engaging a series of questions And I really need to share this. So let me share the screen. And hopefully I'll be able to keep talking with you. And if I need to change, okay, it looks like can you hear me still? Even though I've shared the screen now? Anyone? Okay, so
Right